Fantasy Hockey Pool Update, 10 moves you need to make in Week 15. This is pre-January, Monday, January 14th games. For those of you who haven't seen this before, basically I take info from the Score, Sportsnet, TSN, and thanks to the suggestion of a subscriber, Fantasy ESPN as well, amongst a few others. Let's get to the board, shall we? Number 1, construct your lineup with these 10 teams. They play 4 times this week. The Anaheim Mighty Ducks, the Boston Bruins, the Edmonton Oilers, the Minnesota Wild, the Montreal Canadiens, New Jersey Devils, the New York Islanders, the St. Louis Blues, the Washington Capitals, and the Toronto Maple Leafs. And stay away from the Vegas Golden Knights. They only play twice. Number 2, trade for Wayne Simmons of the Philadelphia Flyers. The 30-year-old right winger is about 65% owned right now, and he's still on pace for 25 goals, but his assists are probably going to be going down this year. However, his value point-wise will go up when he's traded, and he most likely will. Philadelphia's in the bottom of the league right now. There's no reason to think that they won't trade this guy because he's a pending UFA. Now, not only that, but he'll also help you in the fantasy playoffs, especially in leagues with hits. There's my cat making noise. Stop making noise, Moose. Number 3, add goalie Jordan Bennington of the St. Louis Blues. He's only 17% owned right now. My brother Frank is smiling because he just picked him up a few days ago. Now in 3 games, he's had 3 wins, and he's a .941 save percentage with a 1.45 goals against. Now, I know it's early. Those numbers will probably come down. But think about this. With Jake Allen being so inconsistent, as he usually is, the Blues may want to see what they have in this goalie and probably give him a heavier workload towards the rest of the season. Now, he's not playing as of today on Monday, January 14th, against the Washington Capitals, but who knows, I think St. Louis is thinking, maybe if we're out of the playoffs, and they aren't quite yet, but if they are, maybe they're thinking of trading Allen. They want to see what they have in Binnington. Next up, number 4, drop Casey DeSmith in shallow leagues. He's a Pittsburgh goalie with about 43% ownership right now. And I know what you're thinking. I'm nuts, right? Because he's got a .921 save percentage and a 2.53 goals against. The problem is, Matt Murray has started 9 of the last 14 games since returning from injury and is undefeated. He's got, in that time, he's got a .953 save percentage and a 1.55 goals against. Yup. Number 5, stream Andreas Johnsson of the Toronto Maple Leafs. The left winger is only about 7% owned. Now, Toronto plays 4 times this week, and 2 of those times is against non-playoff teams. I want to say Arizona and Coyotes and the Florida Panthers. Now, he's playing in a line with Austin Matthews on 5-on-5. That should be no surprise, but he's also now playing on the second power play unit with Austin Matthews, who was swapped with Kasperi Kapanen. Now, first line, second line power play, it's more like 1A, 1B. But in any case, Andreas Johnsson has quietly amassed 17 points in the last 21 games after having a very slow start to the season. He's really making the most of his time there. Number 6, take a flyer on Connor Garland of the Arizona Coyotes, especially in deeper leagues with 14-plus players. Now, as we all know, Nick Schmaltz is now out for the rest of the season, and this is where Garland steps in. In the last 5 games, he's had 6 goals. Remember that guy who put the puck in off his face a few days ago? That's this guy, yeah. And apparently a lot of his goals go off, his leg, his hip, his stick. He's just in front of the net all the time. And he's also on their top power play unit. This is a player who lit it up in the QMJHL when he was in juniors, and he had a point per game while playing in the AHL this season. He was a 5th-round pick in 2015, and maybe he's a gem. We'll see. Number 7, Cell Center, Montreal Canadian Max Domi. After a terrific first half to the season, he's due for some regression in the second half here. Because in the last 16 games, he's had 0 goals. Now, so far this season, in 46 games, he's had 39 points, 14 goals, 25 assists. And his shooting percentage has been like 13.5. Now, some nights he gets 1 shot on net, some nights he might get as much as 3, but I would maximize your return now. I want to say his best shooting percentage was back in his first year with Arizona in the league, and it was like 11.5. And his shooting percentage the last couple of years has been 8 and 7. So, yeah. Number 8, stream left winger Pittsburgh Penguin Tanner Pearson in deeper leagues. Now with Hornqvist out with a concussion and Aston Reese out with an upper body injury, he's now playing on the second line with Malkin. And he's also on the second power play unit as well. Number 9, jump on right winger San Jose Jonas Donskoy right away. Now. Do it now. He's on the third line with Evander Kane and Thomas Hertl. And get this, that line is the first in the NHL right now for goals per minute 5-on-5. And he has 8 goals in his last 7 games, and he's probably the only player on this line who's still available right now. Yeah. Number 10, last but not least, grab left winger Carolina Hurricane Michael Furland. He's only about 45% owned, and he's now back on the line, on the first line with Sebastian Aho, and he had his first multi-point game since October 7th recently. And if you haven't noticed, Carolina has not only started scoring recently again, but they're also winning. And they're not out of a playoff spot. I believe they're sort of the last ones in the East who are still in the fight for it, along with Boston, who's sitting outside that picture right now. I want to say Montreal's in the playoff spot, in the last wild card spot there, along with who else? Along with, I'm just looking at my phone here. Yeah, along with the New York Islanders. I don't know why I couldn't remember that. Now, games of the night. On Monday, January 14th, we have the Colorado Avalanche versus the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Chicago Blackhawks versus the New Jersey Devils, the Minnesota Wild versus the Philadelphia Flyers, St. Louis Blues versus the Washington Capitals, Montreal Canadiens versus the Boston Bruins, and the Buffalo Sabres versus the Edmonton Oilers. There's a lot of interesting underlying stories for all of these games. If I were to say what would be the game of the night, I might say Toronto and Colorado, or even Montreal and Boston. But really, Edmonton is still in a wild card playoff hunt right now, especially with Anaheim just reeling. And Buffalo is just outside that wild card spot right now. So they're chasing a position as well. Boston is 2 points back of Toronto, both of whom are playing tonight. And Montreal is just clinging to that last wild card spot. The Washington Capitals are trying to stave off the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Columbus Golden Knights, the Columbus Blue Jackets, excuse me. And St. Louis they're not out of a playoff picture. Mind you, Jake Allen is playing tonight, so who will show up? If he had like a villain equivalent, he'd be like Two-Face from the DC Comics, I think. The Philadelphia Flyers and the Minnesota Wild. The Minnesota Wild are in a wild card spot right now, and yeah, in the last one, and they're trying to stave off a lot of teams really, because a lot of teams, the West wild card spot, a lot of those teams just are playing super awful for the last while now, and yeah, they're trying to stay in the hunt. The Devils are out of a playoff spot, but Blackwood is playing tonight, so that'll be interesting. Chicago is technically, like a lot of teams, still somewhat in that hunt for a wild card spot in the West, and Toronto is trying to stave off Boston. They want home home ice advantage in the playoffs because it's most likely the Bruins who will face, and of course Colorado has a wild card spot in there, but they've been reeling of late. I want to say they're like 1-7-3 in their last 10, and they've lost 3 in a row. So yeah. In any case, thank you so much for watching. Hit like if you like this video. Smash that subscribe button if you haven't already. And hey, if you have any Hockey Geek friends, please don't feel shy about sharing. Thanks again, and I'll see you soon.